Jen. I'm back with a Sip and Spill video, and today with me is Mindy. And we've already set up some questions we're going to ask. We may throw other things in. So when we do our Sip and Spills, it's normally going to be snow cone and spill kind of thing, but we're having some sparkling drinks. She's got her white, I've got my red. Cheers to a wonderful video. I'm having red grape. She's having apple cider.
Tastes good too.
Okay. So, Mom's behind me. She's not going to be in the video too much, but you may hear her. She sometimes responds, whether we ask her to or not.
Right.
So we're going to ask one another some questions, and we may reword them, or we may choose to add on to it as we go on. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and start, because there was a question you asked me earlier that you want to address, but I'm going to go ahead and start so you know where we're starting.
Okay.
So, the question for me is there any drawbacks to living on your own?
Yes, there's definitely drawbacks. There's pluses and minuses to living on your own.
Okay.
You have more freedom, more space, but then you also have to pay your own bills. You have to worry about cleaning the house all by yourself. No assistance there, which you're doing a lot of that on your own now anyways, because Grandma's gotten to the age where...
We'll get to that.
But there's always drawbacks.
So, with that said, is there ever times you wish you were living back with your parents?
Sometimes, yes. Depends on the day, though.
Okay. Anything else you want to bring up about that?
I don't think so. Not this time.
Then it's your turn.
Do you have any regrets or anything about living with your parents for so long? Do you wish you would have gotten out sooner?
Regrets, not exactly. Because with why I didn't move out, I took care of my parents. I was their caregiver.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have regrets regarding that. Do I wish I could have gotten out sooner? In some respect, yeah. I wish I could have lived a normal young person's life where you go out and hang out with friends. You could have your boyfriends back to your home without having to worry about who's there with you, and all that. I think I would have had a more normal dating life had I not lived with my parents. But overall, I mean, I never paid any of my bill. I mean, I did pay a phone bill at one time. I do have bills that I have paid over the years, and I have helped out with bills when I was working. So it's not like I don't know what the bills are like. And now I take and do all the bills. I don't pay them out of my pocket, but I do have to do all the paying of the bills. I have to be in charge of all the making sure what gets cleaned. I have all the household responsibilities falling on my shoulders, and there's a lot of things that I don't know that I'm messing up on until people bring it up. So I'm very blessed to have the neighbors I have, because they've been helping me learn things that I didn't know I needed to take care of. And then also your Uncle Ed, my older brother, who's given me we need to do this or we need to do that, And then your mom has helped out with some places. There's been people guiding me, but I feel like had I gotten out on my own earlier, there's some things that might be less less daunting to learn as I get older.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was a typical weekend like as a teenager for you? Were you like the wild child out partying all the time?
A lot of people probably would have thought that about me, but not really. I kept at home most of the time. I did go out with some of my friends occasionally. We went to the movies, or we went to the river or something and just chilled, but it was mostly a quiet time.
Okay. Typical weekend for me, depending on what the weekend was, but I was in the high school band. So during school year, I might be at a football game or a basketball game on a Friday night. And when I was a freshman, I think also my sophomore year, one of the older girls would give me a ride home. Her family would. I was friends with them through church, so they'd give me a ride home. And then Saturday would be like chilling, watching cartoons or something, and then going grocery shopping with Mom. And then sometimes going out with my friend for a little while, maybe in the afternoon, or she'd come over for a while. And then Sunday was church and catching up on the homework I didn't do the rest of the weekend. And then back to school on Monday. Now, if it was a weekend that wasn't a game, I might go to my friend's house, or she might come to my house and spend the night on Friday night. And then we'd go shopping on Saturday. And then, Sunday was church. So for me, it was very chill. I mostly hung with my family or very few close friends.
That sounds like how mine was.
Okay. Okay. Do you ever regret any of the people you've dated in the past?
Oh, boy, do I. But it also makes me who I am today. Do you regret not dating so much?
Okay, so if you didn't see my dating app video, what this is about, is I really don't consider that I've ever had a date. Now, let me clarify. I've been out with guy friends. When I was a senior in high school, I took a freshman to my senior Sadie's. I regret that. To some degree, I regret that. And then I went out with guy friends for dinner a couple times. I've had a couple guy friends that I hung out with and stuff, but it was never a date, in my opinion. So, yeah, and I do regret that, but at the same time, if I would have dated more, would I be who I am? Probably not. So, is it kind of annoying that I've never had a date? Yes. But in the same breath, I can say that I'm happy who I am, and, so no, I guess not. Okay, what is your biggest hobby? Before you answer this, let me clarify. Mindy has had some health issues that have eliminated one of her favorite hobbies. But if you could do any hobby, what would it be? And then what are your fallbacks?
So, it's actually tied between 3 things.
Okay.
I've always been major into art, which is one of the ones I can't do anymore.
She can, but she can't.
Yeah, it depends on the day because of my health issues. And then reading books and listening to books on tapes and watching movies.
Okay.
Are my other 2 go-to.
Okay. Well, for me, my biggest hobby is writing. I want to be an author one day. I want to be a published author one day. Whether I'm famous or not doesn't matter. I just want to be able to say I'm published. I am a published poet, but I'm not a published author. And I know probably some people are like, well, that you're published either way. But to me, they're 2 different genres and 2 different categories in life. And I want to be in both. And my fallbacks, my big things are listening to music anytime, and very much any type of music. I'm really into almost any type of music. We've discussed that in another video. And then movies, watching movies. I'm nonstop watching movies.
I have a question based off of that. Okay. When you say you're a published author, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm
poet, but yes.
Clarify. Is it you were in someone else's book of your own poet?
How about if I go right now, because I never showed this in the video. I will be right back. So I am a published poet. I want to check the date on the one. Because I think this came first, and I want to be clarifying it. Yeah, okay. So in 2007, for Christmas, I chose to write a poem book using all the poems I had done when I was in high school and early college. And I had it published, and I hold a copyright on this. It's easy to get a copyright. All you have to do is submit for it and through the website online. Now, the problem was, excuse me, it took me a while to find that. It took a while to get my copyright back, but as of 2017, I had wrote this book, and it's all my own poems and pictures I took, and it's called Through the Storms. It's about $13 each to make them. So they were Christmas presents for all my aunts and uncles that year, and my siblings and my parents, and that was one of the Christmas presents I gave away. I don't normally do that much for my relatives, but somebody had been asking me for my poetry for years, and so I finally did it, and I gave it to a few people. But because it cost about $13 a book to print them, I never tried to sell them or anything. Because it
never got published or anything.
Never tried to publish my poetry for selling at that point. If you guys are interested, I hold the copyright. I can always get more copies printed, but it would cost $15 because I'd need the shipping and I'd need the cost of the book, unfortunately. And it may be even more than that now because I don't know how much it cost me to get it printed again.
If you are interested, leave a comment below for us.
Yeah, and we can I can give you the estimate after I get it, do a print of it to see what it is. But anyway, the published poem that I was originally talking about, that I am a published poet, the one I consider my published poet, is this book here. It's Stars of Our Heart in Our Hearts, and it's by Enlightenment. It's a book, a compilation book of a bunch of poems by a bunch of different people. I entered a contest and I got in, but it cost me like $50 to get a copy of the book just to have my one poem to show that I am a published poet. But to me that was worth it because now I can prove I am a published poet, And there's a book out there now. The original price, according to this, is $69.95 for this book.
Wow.
So I am in a book that is out there that could be bought. So, but that's not why I don't think that. I mean,
so why don't you consider yourself a published author?
Because to me, a poet is somebody who does short wording. Mm. Now, that isn't always true, but they're short, they're more rhymey, they're more to the point. Whereas a story, there's a storyline, there's a lot more build up to it.
Okay.
You have your plot, your character build. I mean, there's a lot more involved in it. I mean, they're both very, very difficult to do.
Yes.
But to me, they're two different genres, totally two different genres.
I can even say it's hard to write because I have some short stories I started and never finished.
I have a few that I have started. I have stories that I've finished that I don't know where they ever went. Back before the internet, I used to write on paper all the time. Before computers were a thing in my household. I have stories that I don't know whatever happened to them. I mean, I've been writing since I was in grade school.
That's cool. Yeah, I ain't been writing that long. No. I started in high school writing a little bit here and there, but nothing that big enough that would ever probably get published.
I used to write, one of the things was, I never talked very deeply about this, but I was very bullied in school. But back in the day, bullying to me meant the kids that like got their heads put into a toilet, or they were hung up by their underwear, or things like that you see in movies. That's what I thought a bully was. And now I'm finding, as we get older and as there's more internet stuff being involved, it's becoming more broadly expanded to include kids like me who were tortured verbally and felt emotionally drained and hurt and all this. That for me, I mean, like, I was bullied and I never wanted to call it that. I thought I was just being tormented, which doesn't sound much better, but at the same time, it doesn't sound as harsh as bully does. But they are the same thing. And so I went through a lot of being bullied. I was picked on because of my weight. I was picked on because of my teeth. Okay, back then I had teeth, people. So you're probably going, okay, you had teeth, so why were you picked on? My teeth never had to have braces. But a lot of my classmates did. And so I was made fun of for that. I wore glasses when I was younger, so I was made fun of for that.
Yeah, the whole four-eye joke goes around a lot when you wear glasses.
It's not just four eyes, though. You get all sorts of, like...
That's the one that was more common at my age.
Four eyes was a thing, but it was, like, more like glasses. Yeah, I don't know. They just, like... I don't remember what they called me or what they said, but it was just, like... I was a nerd kind of thing. I was, like, in school band. I was, I wore glasses. I didn't have braces. I was a fat kid. I was just target after target put on my back. And it was just like the bullseye became more and more noticeable, And so I suffered a lot going through that. And so writing was my go-to. Poetry was one of my biggest things that I would go through. And if you guys want to hear some of it, maybe I can share a couple poems down the road. But I would write all the time. And on the school bus, just to keep my head down so that nobody would talk to me, I was constantly writing. To avoid being talked to, I was always writing during study hall. And if I wasn't writing, I was sitting in one of the classrooms doing an activity there. I need a pass to go do computer work. Because even though I was keeping up in that class and I was ahead in that class and really needed study time for something else, I didn't want to do my other homework in my study hall because of the way I was being picked on. So, did you ever experience any bullying like that?
Yeah, I got bullied in multiple ways by kids my own age and technically by their own teachers. So,
yeah, I was bullied by a couple teachers. I actually have a very big bullying story from when I was in 8th grade. To the point where I should have turned the teacher into the principal. But I was such a shy kid. I didn't feel that my voice would be heard. So I didn't. So the year before I went on a band bus trip. and I'd gotten sick because I didn't eat that morning, and it was hot on the bus because we took the school bus at that time for this trip. And it was hot, and I was hungry, and I got overheated, and I threw up. And it happened 3 times on the trip that I threw up.
Oh.
And the 3rd time was at lunchtime, going into Hardee's, right behind the guy I had the biggest crush on in the band. Blech! Right behind him. And he turns and he goes, I'll go get the teacher. Sweetest guy in the class. I mean, like, the sweetest guy. Later on in life, I would run into him, and he would recognize me, and he's like, oh, hi! And, like, treated me like I was one of his besties, kind of thing. And I was like, hi! You know, it's like, but he was always nice to me, even after that, you know, never treated me like I ever threw up on him. I have to say, I have thrown up around, like, 3 or 4 of my crushes, and all of them have been such sweet guys about it. Never teased me, never harassed me, never, you know, and they weren't ones that really made fun of me in school either. So, and they were some of the popular guys, so, I mean, they could have easily been jerks.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They were really nice guys. And so, yeah, I've experienced that. But anyway, so the next year, I got on the list for the same bus trip. We were all to go, and it was just going down to our state capitol to play at the Capitol building, and then we'd go and do some sightseeing in the state capitol area. And my band teacher wrote into the paperwork, bring an extra bag, comma, Joyce, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. And I got mad. And I stood up and I goes, that is not funny. Which was rare for me to stand up for myself. And so I stood up for myself. And he goes, sit down, or do you want me to send you to the principal's office? And I goes, go ahead and send me to the principal's office. I'll tell her exactly why I'm mad. And he goes, just sit down, never mind. I thought you could take a joke kind of attitude. Well, I did sit back down. And he kind of moved on, and everybody else was like, whoa, because I actually spoke up for myself. So,
my childhood bullying, I was bullied, and I was basically tortured as a kid, so it's not a fun story to go over.
No, there's a lot more that we could go in depth. If you guys have more questions, we can talk a little bit on that, but that needs to be a separate video.
Yeah, mine would be very too deep, and could be problems for other people.
Triggers. So if you want more on that, we need to carefully go over it together beforehand on hers. But on mine, I mean, there's other things I can tell you. Like mine.
So I was typically bullied too, overweight too. Even when I was skinny as a twig, because I was skinny.
When she was quite a bit younger, yeah.
And
in high school is when you started getting a little weight.
Yeah, and I got bullied before I even had weight, that I was fat and stuff. So I think that's a typical one for kids to get bullied on.
I was always plus size. I never really was then. You guys have seen my childhood pictures. It was in my birthday video from this year. So if you want to see that, go back and check out February 20th birthday video, and you'll find it there.
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. You were saying how the popular kids were not so mean about the throw-ups. And I found that not always is the popular ones the mean ones.
That's true. There were some in my school that were.
Because when I started a new school, I only had a class or 2 at that school, and there was these cheerleaders who met me outside and was very sweet about it. And it's like, hi, we should hang out.
I was like chill with the cheerleaders and the pom-poms in my school.
But I never hung out with them, but they did offer and stuff, so.
And if you want to hear stories about my experience with some of the, like, sports kids in my school, let me know, because that is a whole different... I actually kind of have a very good relationship back then, and still. I had more friends than I realized back then. I think a lot of it was just the tunnel vision. You know, when you're in high school, you're more tunnel vision. You think, nobody likes me. Because a lot of times we don't like ourselves in high school. And we don't know, you know, as we get older, we learn to accept who we are. And we're harder on ourselves because we see in magazines and TV how teens are. And we think we should be that way. And so as a teen, we're getting it from every angle. And it's like, that's one thing I like about Netflix and stuff like that. They're showing, you know, not just straight people. They're showing gay people, pansexuals, bisexuals, all that. They're going outside the limits, the box that I was brought up in. And so I love it because they're allowing kids to see people that are like them. Yes. And they're not just seeing white kids, they're seeing black kids, they're seeing Asian kids, they're seeing, you know, every ethnic group in some form. Not always in the best roles. I mean, we still have a long way to go in all of that, but it is way more advanced than it was back when I grew up. And
yeah.
so that makes me very happy to see that, to see us showing more equality in the world. That's I think another reason I loved Julie and the Phantom so much, because it was very much equality was very key. Granted, there was 3 white male ghosts to 1 female who was, you know, and it's just like there wasn't enough balance yet, but it was so much farther ahead of its time than, you know, than what back in my day. If it would have been my day, that would have been way ahead of its time. But we're getting better at that, and that's one thing that, you know, as a teen, I wish I would have had more role models like that in the, you know, in TV, to see these strong young people that could hold their own.
And see, a lot of my issues I had was before high school. Mine got a little easier during high school, but I still had a little bit at the beginning.
Grade school was probably the easiest for me. I was still bullied, but it didn't really pick up till middle school. I even had a nickname in middle school, Green Elbows. Green Elbows. And that's a whole story that I have no clue how it got started.
But if you want more stories, or you want us to go into more details,
especially the bullying stuff, I'm willing to talk more about my bullying. I'm actually friends with some of the people that I felt bullied me.
I'm open to talk a little bit more about what I went through, but it can be very triggering.
So if we're going to do that, we're going to need to go through it very carefully, and then we will have to put warnings up. So if you're triggered easily, know that could be a problem.
Yes.
I will say this. I have said it before. I've been through depression to the point that I've actually almost tried to commit suicide when I was younger. So my bullying didn't affect, it did, but didn't truly, you know, it was how I seen myself that made me feel that way. So, but let us know what kind of questions you have for these future sip and spills.
Yes.
Girl chats.
Did we get
slurp and slurps, or whatever we're going to call them all. We have different ones, but I think we got all of our questions answered that we went through.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
We're getting ready to one video from Mindy's channel here in a minute. And so we really appreciate you guys. We really love having you guys sit down with us and watch our videos. We hope you all are having a wonderful day filled with lots of love and laughter.
Yes.
We hope that your saddest day in the future is only as sad as your happiest day in the past. And until next time, bye guys.